Boundless Authenticity Podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Boundless Authenticity Podcast. Today I'm joined by Dr. Christopher Macklin again for the 6th time. So if you haven't listened to the other episodes, please do that after this. Christopher Macklin is a UFO expert, medical intuitive, remote viewer, spiritual teacher, and energetic healer. He's known for his work helping people to achieve balance in mind, body, and spirit. Dr. Macklin has become a go-to resource for those struggling with emotional challenges, mental health imbalances, and physical ailments, especially since the pandemic. Dr. Macklin delves into fascinating topics such as the impact of 5G, UFOs, the Galactic Federation, and the importance of boosting the immune system. He also explores the causes and effects of illness, divine sovereignty, and much more. Specializing in healing those who've experienced negative extraterrestrial encounters, Dr. Macklin helps individuals clear harmful ET presences, close portals, and heal from trauma. He also supports those affected by mind control and abuse related to ET-influenced institutions. Dr. Macklin offers free global healing meditations, prayer circles, and personal healing sessions twice a week. Learn more about that and join him at Global Enlightenment Project. Today, though, we're going to talk about angels. How's it going there?
It's great. Bless you, and thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, you're always welcome.
I'm glad you're not sick of me yet. 6 times is amazing. Bless your heart.
Well, you tell me somebody that's sick of you, I'll have to go beat him up.
Yeah. Actually, I never get negative feedback, and it's interesting, because I think I come from the heart. I was talking to somebody yesterday. It was interesting, and she's a client. She went out and with friends, and she pointed a truth out to somebody, and I got really upset. Well, you better apologize immediately, And she didn't know what to do about it. So she talked to me and I said, next time, why don't you say what's within you that's triggering you so much? It's crazy. But yeah, it's extreme times.
Yeah. I think,
so yeah, angels.
Yeah. I was going to say to your point that I think that from our first episode until now, your following has grown to where I know that your episodes always do well with people. And so there's something that people have latched onto. I've seen the numbers grow and they seem to get stronger every time. So people are hungry for Dr. Macklin.
Well, I think it's the knowledge, but it's also, I think it's important to authenticity. I see, I see a lot of people giving misinformation out, and a lot of them are paid by the CIA. In fact, 3 particular ones I know of, because someone was at the meeting, was offered the same thing, and it wasn't me, of course. But someone was off the meeting, they refused, They said, no, I don't do stuff like that, walked away, and they're being hounded. But the other 3 people, I never mentioned it over the air, but the other 3 people signed contracts and they've got huge podcasts, so they're making huge money for misinformation. And it's sad, but I think in some ways, sometimes it's an education, because, I always tell people, use that discernment, does it feel right? If it doesn't, then walk away, And that connects to angels, that connects to guides and all this sort of thing. You can get readings of people. I went to an expo, again, I won't tell you which one it is, but it's a huge one. And the energy was really off. And I said, wow, I said, okay, what percentage of people are authentic? Do you know what it was? 3%. The rest were just, earning money. And I thought, wow, this is really sad, and I actually wanted to leave. The person I went with said, look, this ministry spent like $5,000-6,000 on it. You better be staying. I said, okay, So what I did is just put a bubble around me and just stayed within my own space, because one thing I don't do is give misinformation. Is it all correct? I think so, because, I've got a pure channel and Macklin beings. But I think for a lot of people, when they're channeling off-planet beings, they might be channeling the negative ones. And of course, they might say, well, you're going to, hang on, you're a healer. Well, that's correct. You're doing this. That's correct. Doing that. That's correct. Then the third or fourth one is massive misinformation. Well, I'm getting, you should be going to France or Germany or somewhere, and you should move there and buy the house with a pink roof, red doors and green driveway, Okay. And so what's going to happen is, for most people, if they don't use their discernment, well, I think I better fly into Germany or France and go and have a look for that house. And you know what? You'll find that house. Some crazy person has painted the house and say, "Oh yeah, I got it." And then next time they have a reading, you were right, you know. And what they've done is give misinformation to take them off that divine path. So to me, it's all about discernment, you know.
Yeah, it's true. And it's difficult doing a podcast like this because it gets buried under the slew of garbage that's out there that's just designed to distract you. I mean, yeah, the governments and stuff, they all know that they can't do the stuff that they want to do if everybody's paying attention to what they're doing all the time. So in a society that's designed to hide the obvious misgivings, and we're in trouble. And it just surprises me how many people are still watching certain podcasts that, I mean, it is obvious to us, but it's not obvious to them for one reason or another. And I have to wonder, where have we gone wrong with teaching our children how to determine what's good for them or not? I mean, I could go on about this topic forever, but I think we should segue into angels. So tell me about them. What kind are they? And you mentioned to me negative angels.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. If you look at statistics, in 1993, Times Magazine did an article about angels, and they did a poll. How many people believe in angels? And believe it or not, in the whole of America, there's 69% at that time, and I would imagine it's probably gone up, who actually believe in angels. And they don't probably know what angels are particularly, but there's archangel angels, different factions depending on how evolved they are. So, you know, I mean, you can define an angel as what? A spiritual being. You know, they're kind of depicted as a divine messenger, and they're an intermediary between God and humanity. You know, it's a bridge between getting information from Prime Creator, whoever it is, and humanity. They also act as protectors, guides, and, you know, but for most people, they're not visual to the human eye. I mean, for me, they are. I can actually see them, you know, if they turn up. But there's another thing as well, which is interesting. People don't realize, well, you know, say you call on, for example, Archangel Michael. So you call on him, and you might feel a presence, but you can't see him. The problem they've got is that because the keys of Enoch, which is the keys of the universe, and Enoch was an ascending master, that's a bit different again, they can't show themselves if people are going to be terrified. Like, imagine if an angel turned up in your bedroom at 1:30 in the morning, just waking up. So, most people would be scared. I'd be, oh, wow, you know, and I would, you know, talk to them. And I have done. I've had Mother Mary actually, you know, show up at, I forgot what time it was, 12:31. Because when I got really sick last year with that energy weapon and, you know, it affected my heart valve, she actually showed up and she said, "Do you want to stay or go?" I said, "Why are you even asking?" She goes, "I know, I just thought I'd ask." So, I'm staying, we're staying right here, you know, and it's been a journey. But yeah, and I think, you know, really everyone's got guides. You've got angels. For starseed people, you have a soul family. Are they angelic? Probably. And I think it's important to realize that, you know, angelic factions, they're there to help you, you know, they're there to guide you. I mean, I talk to Mother Mary on a regular basis, and one day she said, well, your wife's car, you just need to get rid of it. It's only a year old. Just get rid of it. Okay, I'll get rid of it. So I just traded it in. Don't know what. She didn't tell me what it was or anything else. She just said, you need to get rid of it. Okay. And I told the dealer, I said, you know, I feel like there's something wrong with this car, but check it out before you sell it on. And I don't know what they found, and I just got another car, you know. So I think it's important. They always tell you, you know, up to 3 times. If you're not listening, then they say, okay, well, your journey. But yeah, it was interesting. So, you know, for many people, I think, you know, personally, angels, you know, are watching over us. I mean, you do have like guides, maybe Native American, maybe family members who are evolved enough to come back and help you. How evolved are they? That depends on how old their soul is, you know. So what angels do we have? Well, we've got Michael. He's an ancient Palladian, Archangel Michael. These are all archangels for now. And a lot of people call on him because, he's there as like a protector. He's got courage. He cuts cords and gives people a lot of... by his presence, he makes people feel more powerful. So Gabriel, he's from Sirius. Everyone's heard of Archangel Gabriel. Communication, he's a messenger, and he's creative, so he's got those gifts. Raphael, Andromedan, what's he? He does healing. He's a good one to call on if you want healing, harmony and balance. That's all involved with healing. Uriel, wisdom, insight, ideas and enlightenment. Chobel is Venetian Taurus constellation, so that's love, compassion and relationships. You've got Jophiel, beauty, creativity, positive thoughts. You've got Sakil, Orion, forgiveness, mercy and transmutation. You've got Raziel, there's a ton of them. Sirius B, sacred mysteries, esoteric knowledge and intuition. Ariel is Palladian, and it's all about nature, animals, environmental healing, manifestation. You got Haniel, Palladian, joy, inner beauty, kind of emotional healing as well, and soul remembrance. There's a lot of them. There's a few others I don't really want me to tell you. Oh, there's one more, sorry. Azrael, Orion, transition, grief, support, soul crossing after death. Azrael, and so, all those angels, why do they call them archangels? So just angelic. Angelic to me is when they're unconditional love and they've reached a place of absolute love, so they're angelic. Guides, they haven't done that. They're just there to help guide you, but they haven't evolved that much. And they're kind of probably angels, in quotes. Archangels really, although they've reached that level of love, they've got so much wisdom. They've been around. Archangel Michael's been around forever, and over the time he's created so much wisdom. So, and the same with all the archangels. So yeah, it's really interesting. I can tell you about the angels, but angelic beings, whatever if you're a starseed, you need to find out where you're from. With Palladian, Arcturian, Lemurian, Atlantean, Andromedan, Lyran, Sirius B, wherever you're from, wherever your soul's from. And then once you've found that, start meditating with them. And I think it's really important. Now, they're kind of brutal in some way because they don't waste their time with people who talk but don't do. You've got to be meditating, I believe, an hour or 2 hours a day. So I haven't got the time. Well, make the time, because once they connect with you, you'll do it for a week, nothing happens. Well, they haven't talked to me. And talk comes in your head. So you need to be in a meditative state where you haven't got any mind chatter at all. And you're just waiting for them to talk to you, telepathy-wise. And you might wait the next week, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, But one day, when they've realised, yeah, you're committed, they'll start connecting with you really big. And, once they've connected with you, with your soul family, they'll never leave you. It's amazing. Now, angels like, Raphael and, Ariel and all the others, Michael, they will connect with you, because if you want to do readings. But it's, again, very important. What happens if the channel's not clear? And you think, I'm talking to Archangel Michael, and you've got a reptilian there pretending to be him, or an Archon, or Luciferian. So, like I say, they'll give you some true information, because it would sound a complete ruse if they didn't. But they're going to give you misinformation to relay to the people. That's why I always say, if you go for a reading, ask the person who's doing the reading to ask their guides, are you of God? If you get no answer, they're not. And of course, they're not going to say, well, I'm not of God, they're just not going to answer. And I've seen it a number of times when I've taught that, and people have said, wow, I went to a reader and she didn't get an answer whether people are of God. So it's a good way of making sure the channel's clear.
Okay, so can you explain the links between the archangels and the corresponding star systems in greater detail with some examples?
Well, Azrael from Orion's belt. There's Palladians are from Pallades, of course. So Archangel Michael, he's Palladian, and there's a lot of Palladians here helping us. They're starseeds. Are they extraterrestrials? Well, they are, because they're not of this planet. I mean, all these beings are extraterrestrial. And Sirius, is in the Orion belt as well. They, are all these races are very evolved. And so I think, talking to them, we're talking to the highest beings of those races with archangels. Like I say, Michael is probably the highest being in terms of spiritual that you could get with the Palladians, so, yeah.
Okay. So how do you know that, I guess besides a thought coming into your head, how do you know that one of these beings is trying to contact you?
You can kind of feel their presence. You feel an angelic presence. Wow, what's that? But a lot of people don't pay attention. If you do, what you need to do is, again, close your mind, maybe even close your eyes, clear your mind and say, okay, who's present? And sometimes you get thoughts in your head. You might get, whatever thought it is. And it's coming from somewhere. If you get thoughts and they're really bizarre, you think, wow, what's that? Or even a warning, I've had warnings. I think I've said before, I was in India, and the Makilsat being said, you need to change your ticket. What? You need to change your ticket? Okay, why? Just change your ticket. They give you 3 chances. Okay, well, I'm listening. I'll change my ticket. At the time, I had no money. I had to phone my brother up, lend about £70, change the ticket. And that was the day when, if you remember, I think I may have talked on the podcast before, where the aircraft went down in Delhi, down the runway, blew up, killed everyone on board. And it was in the paper the next day. Oh, wow, that's the plane I'm meant to get. So I said, was that meant for me? And I said, well, yeah, that's why we told you to change the ticket. So I blessed everyone on board. But, it's, yeah. Yeah, once you contact them, you better be listening. So.
Right. Well, you often hear stuff like, if you find feathers and all this stuff, I don't know. Sometimes a feather is just a feather. Sometimes there's a bird up in a tree cleaning itself and the feather just landed on the ground, So I was asking you for a little bit more clarity on that because of stuff like that,
Well, things like that. I mean, I had a best friend, and it's really interesting. He went walking in Scotland, and if you back up a bit, we signed a contract with him, with my ex-wife, that if anything ever happened to him, because his wife had Huntington's and she was in a home, would you take on the kids? So anyway, this one weekend, we had one of the girls. The other girl had gone to her friend's, and anyway, we got a phone call from somebody, one of his friends, saying, there's something going on. You need to phone the police and say this reference number. Okay, well, whatever. Anyway, I put the phone down. I said, there's something happened to Roger. I got he was dead. I'm like, oh, no. And so phoned the police. I said, where's my friend Roger? What's going on? Oh, yeah, we'll get back to you. Half an hour later, never phoned. So I phoned him up again. What's going on? We'll get back to you. No. I want to know, if he's in hospital, I want you to know. We're sending someone round. Oh, right. My intuition was right. And he passed away, bless him. He fell about 300 feet off a mountain. So, but, I knew then, because his soul was present. I could feel it. I could see him. And, I said, why are you here? You're supposed to be in Scotland walking up the mountain, I guess, Yeah, so that was an incredible day. But I think the relationships, what happened is that I asked him for a sign for my ex-wife, and I said, Roger, can you give us a sign? And we drove up the road, and there was 16 doves in a tree. I've never seen doves that many before, and I've never seen them in a tree, and I said, is that your sign? He goes, yeah. So, and my ex-wife saw it, because you might see a couple of doves or 3 or whatever, but not 16. Well, it covered the whole tree. It was incredible. So they do give you signs, I had a sign lately, actually, last weekend, where I saw a fireman in our kitchen. And I said, what's that? And they said, well, it's just a heads up. Just keep an eye on things. Make sure you got your smoke alarms on. I said, okay. So, you get signs all the time, but you got to pay attention to it.
Yeah, I found in my own experiences that angelic beings will give me the most insane, like, synchronicities or stuff. Like, everybody that has listened to this podcast, well, I hope that the old listeners know about the white doves. I've talked about that over and over again. But let's see, last year, I was actually working harder than I was generating any money. And I was like pissed off, right? Obviously, anybody would be pissed off if they were working so hard.
I mean, you work your socks off.
Yeah, and like your money's just going out through the window. It's like, where's this going? And I was just like, I need some help. And so the dumbest, funniest thing actually happened. There was a hurricane and all these shells washed up on the beach. So I found one, and like a couple months had passed and stuff, and I cleaned them off and keep them free of dust and all this stuff. And so one of them just caught my attention. I picked it up and I was like, you know what? This shell is really, really heavy. Way too heavy for a shell. So I shook it, and guess what happened? These little, like gemstones, one for each color of the chakra system, fall out. Wow. And I'm like, wait a minute. So like 3 of them fell out, and I shook it some more. I was like, there's more in there. So I get like a screwdriver and I pull them out, and every single one of them, 7 of them were in there. And then I hear something jingling. And I'm like, what is that? So I keep shaking it and shaking it and shaking it. Eventually, $1.11 exactly falls out. And I just laughed. I was like, you guys have a sick sense of humor. But
they really do, actually.
Right. But I mean, I continued, still having difficulties, and I was making it and stuff. I was grateful that I was making it. Don't get me wrong. But it was a struggle until I picked up that shell and I shook stuff out. Then very quickly, the floodgates opened and I got extra business, and, podcasts started doing unexplainably better and all kinds of stuff like that. So
it's amazing,
that.
Isn't it?
Right?
Well, that's a sign, because, shells don't have gemstones in them. So,
yeah,
they just don't. So,
yeah,
that's a definite sign. And then the $1 and how much cents?
$1.11. So 111. I mean, what is that?
which adds up to 3, which is Christ consciousness, Christed consciousness. Yeah,
it's either
it is amazing.
Yeah, it's either that or somebody's across the ocean was like, I'm gonna fuck up somebody's reality one day and just shoved a bunch of stuff and see who finds it. So,
absolutely,
yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah, but you found it at the right time and it changed your life. It's interesting about manifestation, because I was talking to somebody this morning. And she was saying, because I go to book a manifestation, and to me it starts with your way of life being in complete gratitude, being surrendered, and, just knowing God's got your back, And when you get there, everything changes, because, you're not saying, okay, I'm going to manifest I want. Because if you say, I want, like, a new car, you just manifest I want. You're not manifesting you got it. You just manifest, people manifest in the future, like, tomorrow will be, no, let's manifest it right now. So I always turn it around and just say, wow, thank you, God, for the blessing of having this, and so many people, we do a protocol and somebody says, I can't afford it. Well, God's just about to write you a check. Why don't you turn around and say, thank you, God, for the blessing of being on this protocol this month? There's got to be 30 or 40 people who didn't have the money. Thank you, God. Within 2 days, I remember this one girl, she had a wheelchair. And the neighbour down the street came around and said, here's the money. I want you to do this protocol. And it just came out of the blue. And she was so excited. But I think, to me, it's a way of life, and when you get in that place, even if you think about it, it does well. I mean, the ministry does very well. It's only gone down a lot, but over the last 2-3 years, but it's still doing well. And I just feel blessed. If you've got food on the table, things like that. So yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. I remember one time I was walking with my girlfriend on the beach, and we wanted a coconut. So we wanted to make some coconut bread, and we were like, man, I don't know where we can get a coconut from. And I shit you not, there was a coconut floating in the water on the beach, like just a ways down.
Wow.
And I went in and I fished it out, got it. We cut that open, got the coconut from the inside and everything. So it's like, I think when you really want something, and it's like, especially when it's like, oh, I could really use a coconut right now. I wish I had one. And then you start talking about it and you get into that feeling. Sometimes it just shows up and you don't even expect it. Like, you can't believe that it actually turned out that way,
Oh yeah, because when you've got to do it in the now. You can't say I wish or I want. There's no wish about it. Thank you, God, for the blessing. I mean, I remember when I was in Belize, after 21 days, I had no food. I probably said this before, and I'm so exhausted. I'm going to have to. So I said, okay, let's ground ourselves. So I'm of God, I ground myself. Dear God, I command I get food right now because I deserve it, and I send you my unconditional love within 15 minutes. This most dodgy guy in Belize is looking around. Here's 50 Belize dollars. Don't tell anyone. Keep it. Thank you. And that fed me, which is actually $15 in the US at that time. Fed me for 2 weeks. And it was incredible. So yeah, you can really manifest, but people just, the spin is, it's got to be absolute. You can't wish. I hope. There's no hope about it. We're doing it or we're not. But I think if you walk your life, if you look at the gratitude of what you do have, instead of people who say, well, I don't this and don't that, well, look what you do have. I mean, I walk around this house sometimes, and we built it, a year ago, and I just chuckle and say, oh God, this is created by you, and, I just thank you so much, and you almost chuckle, at the blessings you can get, so it's amazing.
Yeah, I think like with the coconut thing, it was sheer determination, because we knew that one way or another we were going to get that coconut, right? If it meant we had to go walk and raiding people's coconut trees just to get it. I think that just the pure intention of having it, because we were salivating everything already, thinking about what we were going to do with this coconut, So I think sometimes...
Well, things turn up.
Yeah.
It really does, things just turn up just by having the intent. You don't even have to say, God, I need this, you don't need it,
Yeah.
It should be like, wow, I would really love, it would give me joy to, for example, to get a hotel room. And I've had that, I sat in my car. I remember getting out, I was going to pop to the loo and the toilet, in the hotel, because I was kind of living out of it. And this guy came just out of the, well, what's your story? Well, I'm doing here, this is, so wow. He said, would you do a healing if I got you a hotel room? I said, absolutely. So he got a hotel room. I did a healing, was blown away by it, and then never saw the guy again. Lots of things like that happen all the time. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's true.
So manifestation, I think is a way of life,
Mm-hmm. I was just going to say that. It's all about how you actually, live your life expecting that things are going to work out. But you got to do your part too, of course. I mean, there's a lot of people that want something for nothing, and they don't want to be good, or they don't even want to be thankful for what they have, or they just, whatever reason, just can't see it in front of their faces, But I feel like it's one of those things where people are so quick to get upset or feel lonely or disadvantaged or whatever it is, and then they don't look at simple magic, like you got a cell phone in your pocket, like almost everybody's got a cell phone in their pocket, right? I mean, what is that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So why would you think that magic doesn't exist in the everyday? And the thing is that I'm very thankful for is that stuff like the coconut thing or whatever, that kind of stuff happens to me all the time. It's so much so that I can't even remember all the stories. Like, how lucky is that, right?
Yeah.
You know, like how blessed am I actually? But using that
I'm
as
the same, actually. You look back and,
yeah,
yeah, there's so many blessings in this life. People don't realize it. You know, if you've got a house, if you've got a car, you've got food on the table, I mean, you're doing better than a lot of people. Because a lot of people don't have that. You know, they're on the street, they just have to leave their houses, they're in a shelter, they have money, you know, for food and things like this. And I've been there myself, of course. And now I just focus on the blessing. You know, I just love being here. You know, it's not an easy planet to be on. So the place is nuts, but I love it.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I've been calling it Planet Psyop lately because it's just one thing after the next to steal your attention and your focus, which is an interesting side piece that can lead us to negative angels.
oh, yeah, there's the negative ones. The not so good ones.
Yeah.
Naughty angels.
No,
Oh, what have we got with negative angels? Yeah, I always remember that. What's it called? I'm just trying to think. Oh, Monty Python, you know, and you know, The Life of Brian, where that scene, you know, you start naked, he opens up, oh, you're the Messiah, and so shut the door, and then the mum comes out, man dressed as one, goes, he's not the Messiah, he's just a very, very naughty boy. I thought it was hilarious, that. But they were really funny. So yeah, the negative ones. There's a few of those for sure. You know, they're dark angels. So what have you got? Well, you got Anunnaki, you got Draconian, you got Luciferian, you've got snake beings, you've got Archons. I wouldn't say the Greys are angelic because they don't possess the love. And it's interesting because what's up with love, hate, you know, and so these other ones, the reason why they were angelic and they turned completely the opposite way from absolute love to hate. So, and it's sad, you know, and they're predators, you know. I mean, these are the guys, if you think it's all the government, forget it, you know, these are the guys that orchestrated all this, and a lot of them live below the planet in massive cities. And what they're doing is they actually want to come up. They want to reduce the air because they don't breathe as much oxygen as we do. So that's why, you know, you got people like Gates wanting to put chemtrails, not just to make us sick, but to block out the sun so the plant life reduces. And, you know, they've given us bioweapons that a lot of people are passing away with, you know. And I think all this thing is to reduce the population and reduce the oxygen so they can come up and actually breathe properly. And, you know, it's all over the world, you know. We've been in a war for a long time. People don't realise that. They think war is physical. This war is, you know, deep state, you know, satanic versus light people, you know, people of love and people of God. So we've been in this for a long, long time, you know. This is the war, and it's coming to a precipice. I think what they're doing is genius, you know, the way they're doing it in stages and opening people's minds to the fact there's something drastically wrong here. You know?
And they're really not that clever. They're not as smart as they think they are because they're doing a lot more to expose themselves to the average person now than ever before. It's almost like they don't even care anymore. I was just wondering what you think is actually happening with the battle of good versus evil within the angelic realms.
Well, I think I don't know the word white hat, but the white hat people, you know, the good guys, and there's a lot of them, you know, they're very clever. I think the operation they've developed to expose these satanic people is amazing. But, you know, I'm just shocked that the satanic people don't see it because I thought they were smart on that. And they're really not, like you say, very smart. I mean, come on, guys, you know. You know, the white hats have got an incredible plan. They've been planning it for years, and every single step's working. Every Q post, you know, Q is just obviously a metaphor for, yeah, something's going to drop. You know, think about this, think about that. What happens? You know, and everything they've put down is coming to pass. So I think, yeah, I'm just surprised they're not smarter than they are.
Right. But my question was, what do you think is happening in the angelic realms, though? Because, you know, there's an unseen part to it, too. What do you think is happening there?
Well, all the angelic, a lot of these people like Pleiadians, Arcturians, they're actually helping us. First of all, for example, are you going to get a nuclear war down here? No. Why is that? Because the Arcturians disable them. So as soon as it starts turning towards it, they'll disable them. It takes a while to put them back. So that's number one. Number two, the tsunami. So what was it? 8.7 earthquake, and you've got a few feet of water. It doesn't make sense. And I've been talking to Mother Mary, and the Pleiadians actually took the energy out of the water. So, otherwise it'd been mass devastation. So they're helping us all the way. So, even if volcanoes go off, they can take the energy out of them. So I think a lot of things, that they really are helping a considerable amount. And what they're trying to do is help us to get to this, new space of love, basically, and get rid of this hatred, and what I'm seeing at the moment with the energies that is coming from the sun and, solar flares, and Schumann resonance, is that people are releasing so much deep-seated stuff, the things that they thought they'd dealt with, and suddenly it's all coming up again, so I'm seeing that a lot with my clients, because we work on a lot of people a week, probably about 3,000, 2,500, something like that. Very difficult to tell, but we've got a lot of people, on the general groups, a lot of specialised groups and one-to-ones. And they're all coming up at the moment with a lot of deep-seated emotion, and transition. And I think the angels are there to help you as well. We've got obviously ascended masters like Buddha. Enoch was one. Babaji, Jesus the Christ. You've got a number of ascended masters, and in fact, some of those are the same soul, different time. And they've come back to really help people put them back on track and try and teach, And it's been hard because for the last 4,000 years, any starseed person has probably come back several times during the last 4,000 years because the Earth has transitioned so quickly. And we've been in training for, this will be right now. If you look at some of the wars, like Syrian wars and Martian wars, different things at different times, it's all erased from history, but it's happened. And that's why, 2,000 years ago, you got leprosy. You think, okay, what's leprosy? It's a stealth pathogen. It didn't exist on this planet. It's been manufactured from helical bacterial structures. So you kind of think, well, how do we end up with that? Well, we've had all this technology before versus, we've given them something, whether it's the gold, whether it's, abducting people to take the sperm and eggs, who knows? The Greys did that, of course. So it's all happened before and it's fell. Look at Atlantis, that fell as well. We had the technology, and I'm hoping this time it doesn't fall. I actually think we'll make it this time.
Yeah, well, that's a positive spin on it. I often wonder what actually is going to happen, but the more that time passes, I think to myself, you know what? I think it's just going to get worse and worse until it reaches a point where everybody's like, okay, hold on. Let's just stop. Let's all just stop and actually figure out what's going on. Because
I agree with you, but it's always darkest before the dawn. I think it is getting worse by the day. All this stuff's coming out. We know about it, but a lot of people don't, like Clinton's, Gates, you name it, Obama, all these documents are coming out. They've been unclassified, which have been in court, and I think, you can't really argue with that. It's true. And I think little by little, people, wow, this is insane. We've known about it forever.
Yeah, you know what, though? There's a lot of stuff out there that people don't even realize that, just kind of gets in your consciousness that you don't realize. So I'd given, an old video game console to one of my friend's kids or something like that. And I was like, this kid is going to actually end up getting a red pill so hard because one of the games that was on it was Grand Theft Auto 4 or something. And I remember in Grand Theft Auto 4, whoever made that game, they're always trying to warn people for one reason or another because they have these fake radio stations while you're driving around in the car and they're talking about conspiracy theories and stuff. They make it hilarious, right? But
that's great.
They're red pilling people hard as hell. There's the average person that's playing that game is probably not even thinking that any of this is real. They're like, haha, this is all, crazy people talking stuff. But a lot of the stuff that has come on, those fake radio stations, it has happened in real life. In GTA 4, there's actually a place, I think, where the character, you run past it and there's like a vending machine or something, and it said Diddy's Kitties or something on it. So, what is that, right? It's telling you that P. Diddy's a pervert, right? There's like,
absolutely.
There's another place where there's like an industrial area, and there's I'm not sure if it's a chemical lab or something, but you see the sign on the outside of the building and it says eugenics, right? So they're like poking fun at this stuff to put the stuff into people's consciousness. And there's a lot of people that don't realize that this is what's going on, right? I think that a lot of that stuff has been really...
No, because there's a metaphor. Well, guys, wake up.
Exactly. I really think it's been amazing. Yeah, I really think it's been done a lot more good. I mean, even though Grand Theft Auto, you're like shooting hookers and stuff, run them over with your car. Well, you got to take the bad with the good when it comes to certain things. But I'm just using that as an example because there's a lot of things out there that people don't realize have helped to bring things to the level of consciousness that you wouldn't even realize was actually doing that. So it's a good thing in this day and age now because, like I said, the satanic elites, they seem to be really dumb and they're like, okay, everybody knows it's a pandemic, so let's just do more of that because they already know. And people can see it. And that just is a dumb thing. Because if I knew I was doing something wrong to you and you called me on it, why would I continue to do the same thing over and over again unless I was just a dumbass,
Well, that's the definition of insanity. Let's try it again. Well, it's not going to work this time. You've had one chance. And sadly, in America, they reckon that 80% of the population took it. When I went for this, I had a heart valve replacement. They did open heart surgery because my heart's so big. And I went to the cardiologist about a month ago. And I was sitting with him. He said, oh, yeah, you're doing, heart valve's brilliant. Ejection fracture's really good. Back to normal. I said, let me ask you a question. What's that? I said, you must be seeing an absolute ton of people with myocarditis symptoms. So, well, I said, go on, tell me the truth for once. He said, I'm not supposed to tell you this. It's against hospital rules. But absolutely, like thousands. And what's happening, is that all these nano is growing through the hearts, and they scan you. We've got a cleaner and a daughter. What happened is that she didn't feel well, went to emergency, collapsed, had a heart attack, died for 49 minutes, couldn't get her back, and they managed to get her back after 49 minutes. And now she's out of hospital. And they said, well, they don't know what's wrong. They scanned it. I said, you need to do a D-dimer test like I told you in hospital. And he wouldn't listen. Well, maybe. And you can't push people. It's so frustrating because I know what's wrong with the heart and the cardiologists don't. It's insane,
Well, you know what? As they say, the number one symptom of being a conspiracy theorist is that you don't have myocarditis. So, hey.
Exactly. Absolutely. It makes me laugh because I saw someone with Senator Kennedy and he was talking to one of the representatives about something and he's so funny, Senator Kennedy, because, he said, well, what I'm hearing is as dumb as a ham sandwich, So, and he was interviewing Kash Patel and he goes, well, Mr. Patel, so this Russiagate, you said it, everyone said it was conspiracy theorists. Well, it came true. He goes, yes, Senator. So what are we going to do with conspiracy theories? Because they're all coming true, we need some more, So It's very true though, people understand what's going on. I just think I think it can be very overwhelming. Some people are frightened to really look at it. But, my answer is if it's deep and wide, so deep and wide, even if I sit down sometimes, and I think I'm pretty up there, but sometimes you start thinking about how the heck are they going to get rid of all this stuff because it's so big, but they're doing it, it's happening. So It's incredible.
Yeah. So what else can you tell us about angels before we wrap this up?
Well, meditate with your angels. If you need help, ask on the archangels. You've got the list there, just ask for whoever you need because they specialize in different things. And I think, you've got angelic beings around you as well. You've got ascended masters to call on. Ascended masters are different. They're angelic and they're probably archangel-like, but they're probably kind of more evolved than even the archangels because, they've perfected themselves to be able to teach. A lot of them are Melchizedek. It's from the Melchizedek realm in the ultimate dimension. And, I think if you want to call on them, just call on Jesus the Christ or Yeshua Sananda Melchizedek, same person. Mother Mary, you've got Mary Magdalene. You've also got obviously Buddha, John the Baptist, Melchizedek being. Enoch, you can call on Enoch, but, Jesus is probably the one to call on if you really want help, or Archangel Michael, And I think they're there for you. And I think, like I say, it's good to get to know your guides. So, again, clear in your mind, you can talk to your guides. They will talk to you, but, you'll see it, hear it. And if you get to a place where it wouldn't scare the pants off you if somebody turned up in the middle of the night, like Mother Mary or whoever it is, they'll show themselves. But like I said, with the universal laws, they can't do it unless you're really grounded and, oh, wow, I'm pleased to see them instead of, oh my God, there's a ghost in my room. I hunt stuff down, if I see anything, I can see through the veil. So sometimes I've had in people's houses like a grey or, a reptilian, and, I just hunt them down, and remove them. But, it's like, for example, Luciferians tend, in churches where people are, and cackling and speak the nasty, nasty.
Speaking in tongues and stuff,
voice. They're possessed, a lot of them. And what happens is if, you can go up to someone, in the name of the Lord, I command you leave. So what you've done is just pissed off that being. It has to leave because of universal laws. It floats around the church and just either goes back in or it attaches to somebody else. You've got to deliver them somewhere. And that's where, when I'm doing healing, I put portals around you. So 8 portals bonded into Merkabah fields. And then the Melchizedek beings escort them out, take them to the ultimate dimension and deliver them wherever they need to be, wherever that is. And I always say, send them back to God with unconditional love and forgiveness. It's really important. And so, that's the way I actually remove them, and remove them safely. And that's one of the really important things. But I think, discernment is key. If you're going to get, it's just important to, know that these beings are there for you. All you have to do is ask and you'll receive, A lot of people don't ask, when they call on Archangel Michael, he'll come. You'll feel his presence. He's a very powerful being. And, or just call on Yeshua, the Sananda Melchizedek, which is Jesus the Christ, same person. So, and, if people are struggling now, try and call on them, because I know people are really struggling, and I think evolved people are very lonely. Why is that? Because, there's a few things, how do you know you're starting? Well, first of all, you don't fit in, you've got huge empathy. You're all about truth, so people find you intense because you tell them the truth, and it might upset them, piss them off, because they don't want to hear the truth. So, like that lady the other day, you don't like being amongst crowds. You just don't operate the way the average human person. I'm not putting us in a pedestal in any way. We're just different. And, if you're not careful, you can end up shaming yourself. Ian, you must have seen this. There's so much fracture in families now. It's like, wow, there's fracturing relationships. The divorce rate's rocketed. I don't know what it is, but, last year it was 60%, I think. In America this year, it must be even more. So many people are splitting up. Why is that? Because, one party of the marriage will be like evolving and getting connected, and the other party is just in the matrix, the third dimensional, and, the compatibility is just like, moving completely away to the point where you got nothing in common. And so, is it right to leave that relationship? And the answer is, my personal opinion is don't stay anywhere you don't feel comfortable. And if someone's berating you, because they tend to get berated about, their involvement and their spirituality, and, that's not okay. Don't allow yourself ever to be bullied. And I think in this day and age, I always tell people blood is not thicker than water. Because, if you're a starseed, sometimes you're spliced in at birth, so you'd hardly have any DNA parents. You don't even recognize them, you're not that close to them. I'm not that close to father. I love him, but as a human being, but has he been a father figure? Well, he's helped me he's helped greatly. Like, for example, I got sponsored to do a degree, and I got home, I was saying that, I got sponsored to do, oh, you're too thick to get a degree because I had dyslexia. And then you're too thick to get a master. I got one of those as well, and got PhD in different things. And I think, I look back and thank him. I think I chose him because I did the opposite of what he said, to prove him. I wanted to prove it. And I thought to him, but actually, I don't need to prove anything to anyone, I'm where I am, and am I using that degree in Masters in Electronic Software? No, I'm using the PhDs and metaphysics and different stuff and what the Melchizedek beings have taught me. So all that college stuff was like, was it a waste of time? Not completely, but I think I'm not using other mathematics, and it was hard mathematics, so it's really interesting.
Yeah, you're right. The stuff with the parents, it makes me laugh because I didn't have a good relationship with either of my parents. And it's kind of like all the stuff that I ever achieved in my life, they were just like, okay, whatever. It was nothing at all, but anybody else could come along and do something mediocre and they'd be like, oh God, you've done so well. And when it comes to me, oh, you just got a master's, okay. Oh, you're just doing that, okay. And now I run the ministry. It's just one time in my life, which was interesting, is that my mother, I think it was about 9.5 years ago, and she's always been ill. She's never been there. She's passive aggressive, like, oh, well, if I didn't phone her once a week, she'd get all upset, like, well, you don't love me anymore. Oh, that's not the case. Well, I was just busy, but anyway, like, it's passive aggressive. But anyway, so what happened on the Friday, on the Thursday, can't remember when it was, but anyway, she got really sick. And she was in hospital. And so, she's going to pass away. She's got end-stage heart failure, and she's like half in a coma and whatever. And so I thought, oh, crap. So I jumped in the car, I booked a ticket to England, and got to Springfield in Missouri. Got to the gate. And they announced, oh, sorry, this aircraft's been cancelled. There's a hole in the windscreen. I thought, hole in the windscreen? Never heard that before. And I've been involved with aircraft because, it's tough on safety glass. You can't, even a bullet won't go through it. So I said to them, what's happened? I said, get back and heal her. Oh, okay. So I phoned my father, sorry, Dad, I missed the flight. Oh, she'll be dead tomorrow or whatever. I said, hang on a minute, let me get back. So I got back to the office, and they said, set her up in the back of the office. And so I did. Police her every 4 hours, which I did. And they said, anyway, so what happened is I told my father, say the prayer for her. Well, I don't like the prayer. It says, come on, God, look, do you want her to live or die? I want her to live. Well, you do the prayer, I'll keep healing her. Anyway, doing more and more, building up the heart. And then my father phoned and said, there's something in the lower spine, they think it's cancer. I said, hang on, let me just have a look at it. So I said, that's not cancer tumour, that's calcification in the bottom of the spine that's built up over years. He goes, well, the specialist, so he went and told the specialist, my son can see it, and he said it's calcification. They did a scan. Specialist comes back, how the heck can your son see inside a back 4,000 miles away? I don't get it. He goes, well, I don't know, but he's right, and so coming Sunday, it was really interesting because the Melchizedek being said, yeah, she's well enough now. She's going to wake up in the morning at 7:30 UK time, and she's going to be home at 1 o'clock. I said, okay. I said, Dad, she's going to wake up at 7:30, be home. Nah, she's not. She's just about to pass away. I said, watch it. It happened. She woke up at 7:30 and she was home by 1, and he was kind of thinking, he said, how long have you had these gifts? You know what I mean? I've been trying to tell you.
Yeah, I've been trying to tell you. And he goes, wow, what a gift, for a week or two, and then it's all forgotten.
Yeah.
So, and I don't look for, the thing I love about it is I'm very humble. I've got no ego, I don't think, with this stuff at all. Am I the best here in the world? Who knows? But I just do my best. All you can do is do your best. But I think lately I've been seeing on the specialized groups and one-to-ones, like people are so grateful because, they've got something to help them release the emotion of this life because, I don't get involved with it. I detach from it. It's out there as nuts and let them get on with it. I just focus on what I'm doing, like here with you, doing the healings, being in, my circle, which is, we've got 40 acres, house in the middle of the woods. And, we don't go out that often because I don't want to. I mean, the shedding is getting off the charts. One of the things I'm seeing is zoster, which is the shingles part of cerebellar zoster, which is chickenpox. And so they're not getting the pox on their skin. They're just getting shingles, And it's not one or two. It's a ton of them. So what's happening with the nanospheres, they've loaded 92 different viruses or pathogens or things like that. So what they're doing is they're triggering a particular signal. They're releasing one pathogen, which is the zoster part. I don't know how they've got rid of the cerebellar bit, but who knows? It's manufactured. So I'm seeing a ton of shingles at the moment. It's like a epidemic. It's crazy. We can get rid of it, of course, but, not the point. It's just, and they've been around, people with shedding. And a while back, my niece graduated and, step-niece, Mandy's daughter. So anyway, Mandy said, let's go. So we went and we were there 2 hours. I hugged 4 people. When I got back home, I had a rash up the walls and right down the side of my body, hives and everything else. And I checked my sprout protein count. It had gone up considerably, just by 2 hours. So, I can see why people want to isolate because they want to keep themselves safe and don't get sick from the shedding people with the vaccine. It's just what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, that in itself is another episode.
Yeah, we should talk about that, bioweapon. I think it's really important because it's getting worse. And what I'm seeing is people really in trouble, especially the turbo cancer. Because, we'll leave it for another. If we can do another one, I'd love to.
Yeah.
Because it's getting profound.
Yeah, hit me back in a little while and we'll talk about all of those intricate things because things like that aren't really being discussed unless you listen to like a conspiracy theory podcast and they talk about it through some other means. I mean, I don't want to diss anybody's work, but people like Sherry Tenpenny or somebody like that'll go into detail. That's the only platform or type of discussion that you have about it, but nobody's talking about the way that you describe it. So we'll talk about that another time.
Absolutely. Oh, bless you.
In the meantime, please remember that Dr. Macklin is offering free healing meditations, and healing sessions are twice a week, right?
Yeah. If you want to call them a healing session, it's an hour. It covers a lot of things. It covers everything. No. But it's Thursday, 5 p.m. Central Time, and Saturday, 11 a.m. Central Time. It's by donation. If you can't afford any money, please come on. And that's why I do them, because it's important. It was my thing. Once I've been homeless and had no food for a bit, it was my creed that everyone gets a healing regardless of the amount of money you got. So that's all, so we get a lot of people on it. Yeah. So if you want to join them, it's on Rumble. It's called Divine Healing, where you can go to Global Enlightenment Project. It's on Facebook, Global Enlightenment Project. It's on Instagram. It's connected to Telegram, of course, as well. And then you've got, we'll put the link on Truth Social. It's all over the place. Now, YouTube, they took our channel down because they didn't like the healing. So,
yeah, I've gotten quite a couple of strikes. They spanked me. They were like, "Oh, you hang out with Christopher Macklin? Screw you! Get off of here."
Yeah. Well, what happened to us is that nothing happened for years, and then suddenly one day they said in 2016, Saturday the whatever, about 4 minutes 8 seconds in, there was medical information. 2016. And then they went to 2016, another one, October, and then they went to 2007. So what they're doing is all these AI bots are listening, to all the videos and checking them out. And then we got up to 28 strikes, and then 28 complaints. Then we got 1 strike, and then it happened again, going forward, taking the video. Then we got another strike. And then what happened? This channel's going. What I should have done is just deleted them all, and for a bit, and then put it back on again. But anyway, they got up to the wall, and then they sent a letter that said, "Global Enlightenment Project, with taking your channel down, you are a serial violator." Oh my God! I've never been accused of a serial violator before. So anyway, they took it down. I'm actually going to challenge them because I think now the laws, things are changing, and I know, Michael Jaco and a few other people got their channels back. So I'm going to try and see if we can.
So you just looked up from your bowl of cereal, like, how'd they know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Milk dripping all over your face. All right. Thanks for being on the Boundless Authenticity podcast.
Oh, yeah, and
Website,
thanks so
once
much.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's globalenlightenmentproject.com. So, please come and try it out. We've got sessions. We've got loads of meditations as well for things like the immune system, because everyone's immune's compromised. One thing I would just like to share as well, if I may, is everyone's suffering from intestinal issues at the moment. Like, for example, if you eat something one day, it's the spot. Next day, it sits there like a brick and creates acid reflux, and it's all assumption symptoms. There's backs going out. There's low grade headache. And again, it's all coming from emotion, because deep-seated emotion, of course, it can tighten the neck muscles. They squeeze, and then it inflames the vagus nerve because you squeeze the nerves. It can also create AFib, because it squeezes the nerve to the heart. Then the heart's not getting the signal, so it goes out of sync. So there's a lot happening now. So, if people want help, yeah, we're here.
Awesome. Well, this has been another episode of the Boundless Authenticity podcast.
You're listening to the Boundless Authenticity Podcast, where we discuss everything related to the evolution of human consciousness.
At the very least, people need to understand that the United States builds bunkers, which are basically cities underground, every 3 months.
Basically, when you dream, you tap into your subconscious. It is your nocturnal intuition, your creativity and imagination, unchained from conscious reason, ego and logic.
They're biologically alive, but they have no soul. They have AI consciousness. They can alter your conscious of the brain to get the brain.
We live in a multidimensional reality. Whether it comes through esoteric information in the spiritual realms, or the UFO people, experiencers, or mainstream through quantum physics and through mainstream science now realizing that parallel dimensions probably exist.
We're all spiritual beings. We're all having these human experiences. We've heard that phrase over and over and over. But what does that really mean? All the big questions of life. We have these answers inside of our soul.
We're ultimately studying the nature of what it is to be human, good and evil, our psychology, how we think, and our health. That's why I love Bruce Lee's great quote, all knowledge is ultimately self-knowledge.
The Boundless Authenticity Podcast.